what I saw that guy do on a football pitch, I just thought, raw, if I can do that with my music, I'm safe. You know, I probably learned more in one World Cup from watching Maradona than I learned from watching anybody else all their lives.
Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the Accolades conversation series, in which I talk to some of my favorite artists about who or what they would recommend me checking out. Make sure to subscribe to our channel or hit the like button. This week, I'm talking to Blade. He's a British rapper born in the Armenian quarter of Iran, and he came to London when he was 7. His first single, Lyrical Maniac, recorded in 1989, soon brought Blade to prominence in the fledgling British hip-hop scene. Blade is one of British hip-hop's most respected artists, and he is often invited to guest on tracks by other artists such as The Herbalizer and The RZA. But in 1998, a team-up with producer Mark B to record the Hitman for Hire EP led to one of the most high-profile albums of Blade's career. 2000's The Unknown was a big hit, and a re-recorded version of the first single, You Don't See the Signs, made it into the top 30 of the UK charts. I talked to Blade about Diego Armando Maradona, an Argentine professional football player and manager. Widely regarded as one of the greatest players in the history of the sport, he was one of the 2 joint winners of the FIFA Player of the 20th Century award. Maradona's vision, passing, ball control and dribbling skills were combined with his small stature, which gave him a low center of gravity, allowing him to maneuver better than most other players. His presence and leadership on the field had a great effect on the team's general performance, while he was often being singled out by the opposition. In addition to his creative abilities, he possessed an eye for goal, and he was known to be a free kick specialist. Maradona was given the nickname El Pibe de Oro, the Golden Boy, a name that stuck with him throughout his career. He also had a troubled off-field life and was banned in both 1991 and 1994 for abusing drugs. In his international career with Argentina, he earned 91 caps and scored 34 goals. Maradona played in 4 FIFA World Cups, including the 1986 World Cup in Mexico, where he captained Argentina and led them to the victory over West Germany in the final. He won the Golden Ball as the tournament's best player. In the 1986 World Cup quarterfinal, he scored both goals in a 2-1 victory over England that entered football history for 2 different reasons. The first goal was an unpenalized handling foul known as the Hand of God, while the second goal followed a 60-meter dribble past 5 England players voted Goal of the Century by FIFA.com voters in 2002. If you're into my illustrations, this Accolade series started as an illustration book which you can still get on our website greatrecords.be. This is what Blade had to add about the golden boy Diego Maradona.
I didn't have parents to kind of guide me, to show me about growing up a certain way and whatever. I had parents, obviously, but we were separated from when I was 3 years old. You know, there was a war in the country and everything, so I got sent to India, then to England, and I only saw my parents very rarely, like maybe once a year or something, and sometimes once every 3 years. And then by the time I was like 8, 9 years old, I never saw them again until they died, really. You know, so I looked up to actors and musicians and footballers and stuff like that for my kind of guidance, you know. And the thing that I looked up to most wasn't about how good these people were as people, but how good they were at what they did, you know. So I was interested in someone like Maradona because, like, when I saw that guy play for the first time, it was like when I saw Mike Tyson throw his first punch. I was like, Jesus Christ, is this what we've got to deal with? Yeah. And I just saw a whole different animal when Maradona was on the pitch, you know. It was a whole different beast. And I just thought to myself, now if I can, like, straight away in my mind, I'm thinking, if I can do whatever I'm doing in my life and do it to the level that this guy is doing it at, then I'm safe. Mm-hmm. You know? So to me, Maradona was a big inspiration because he just brought something completely different to the game. I believe he was the first footballer to get signed for $1 million or £1 million or whatever as well. So that took, you know, footballers' wages and stuff to a whole different level, which, to be honest, I think footballers get paid way too much and they shouldn't be getting paid that much. It's kind of destroying the game because it's become more of a business than the game in a lot of aspects, you know, but that's a whole different story. But Yeah, Maradona. Like, what can I say about him? I have stood in chicken shops in London and argued with people and almost got into fights because they call him a cheat. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, cheat? I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, because I've seen games where, for example, England's playing Scotland, and Scotland could have scored a goal, but one of the defenders in England puts his hand out and stops the ball from going in. And it's okay. But Maradona goes and does that, and it's not okay. So it's different rules for different folks. You get what I mean? But I just think, look, if he was that good that he managed to get away with it and convince everyone that he didn't do a hand of God, then good on him. That's what life is about. Life cheats you, and sometimes you got to cheat life back. You know? So I don't agree with him cheating. If you know what I'm saying, hey, that's what a referee's there for. The referee's there to spot those things, and if he didn't spot it, then the only person to blame is the referee.
And was Argentina the team that you were rooting for, or was that what you were rooting for England? I guess in that game when that happened.
No, I wasn't. I'll say it straight. I wasn't rooting for England. I've always, like, since I was a young kid, I didn't support any teams really. I supported individual players. So, for example, George Best. I like George Best, but I didn't really support Man United. When it was Maradona in Argentina, I was like Maradona all the way. But because Maradona was Argentina and I love Maradona that much, I wanted Argentina to win the World Cup.
I think Belgium went out in the like half finals against them right after that game against. A few years later, there's a notorious picture of all the Belgian defenders surrounding Maradona. With that picture is notorious. Like, you've got 6 defenders, all of them Belgian, and Maradona's just there in the middle of them. And you know what? He got past all of you. Ha! Yeah. And is there nowadays in soccer somebody that are you still following soccer, or is this something that?
Yeah, I follow soccer. Not like, you know what, I say I'm an Arsenal fan, but to be honest, it's like I'm so busy that I haven't seen an Arsenal game for God knows how long. I saw one 2 days ago, and I was like, bro, Arsenal's playing. Let me stop everything. But yeah, just in general, I love football, but life takes over. You're ridiculously busy. I mean, you haven't got time to take a shit anymore. What we were saying about Maradona earlier, though, it's like, you know, I supported Maradona that deeply. I think they only won the World Cup because of the support I gave them. That's how deluded I am when it comes to Maradona. He won because I was there going, you're going to win, you're going to win, you're going to win.
Crazy. Do you follow other sports, or is it just football or?
No, I follow a few things. I mean, I follow tennis. I follow snooker. You know, I don't really watch golf, but every now and then somebody will do something amazing and you'll be like, oh shit, how did he do that? You know, but no, the main ones are tennis, football, boxing. Boxing's got to be there, 100%. So boxing, I might watch some MMA fighting as well. You know, we don't get it on the TV all the time here, not when I'm awake anyway, you know, so it's just a case of finding it. And the way I am with things, it's like there's a remote control. I'll go.
There's this Belgian guy that is starting to be really good in darts. And a year ago, I started watching one of those games, and it's super entertaining. Like, that's something that I got into. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you said darts, because I forgot, because I haven't watched a dart game in about 4 years now. The energy is mad. It's like, who would think that you're there going, and everyone's just going mad. Like, yeah. You know, it's crazy. I mean, listen, I've played darts many times, many times. And I tell you one thing that I did. I was eager to get my album recorded many years ago and finished. But I said, I'm not going to start my album till I've got 180 5 times in a row. And if I don't get it in a row, I'm going back and I'm starting again. So I'll do, yeah. I got 180. Yeah, I'll try again. And it's like, oh shit, I didn't get it. Let me start again. Okay, I've done it 4 times. The 5th time I messed up.
Wow, isn't that insane? Like 5 times in a row?
Yeah, it is. It's crazy, and I never achieved it. The point I'm making is like, you know, you got to have a different level of like patience and determination to be able to get to that, and practice. That's something that I did with when I was rapping or whatever else I was doing, when I was playing football or when I was playing tennis or anything. You know, it's like you got to put yourself through these things, and everything has to be a challenge, and it has to be almost an impossible challenge, so that you get to the point where you've made the impossible possible. Do you know what I mean? If I wanted to be a professional darts player, I wouldn't have left that room for 5-6 weeks if I had to get those 5 consecutive 180s, you know. But I'm not a darts player. I wanted to record an album. I'm not gonna, the easier one to do is to get the bullseye 3 times in a row or 4 times in a row, and that was easy. I've done it plenty of times. I mean, there's also that thing where if you're kind of aiming for a certain place, you get so used to aiming for that place that your direction for something else isn't as good. So you might go, okay, I need a 777 now, and you go for it, and it's like, oh shit, I'm still aiming for the bullseye, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
Right, so this is what we're going to come back to. See, these kind of things that I put myself through, the challenges and whatever. Like when I was young, and the kids all went to their homes and whatever, I was still stuck in a boarding school. And I remember drawing a circle on the wall with a piece of chalk. And I used to draw the circle on the wall. And then I used to get a football and stand about like 20 feet away. And I used to kick the ball to try and get it in that circle constantly. And that's the same thing I was doing with the darts. And that was because I was watching Maradona and thinking, Jesus Christ, what? And that's Maradona from 82, I think it was. So I was on the Maradona tip from before 86. Do you get what I mean? But I believe he was there from 78, if I remember correctly. But also I remember seeing Maradona in the Coca-Cola advert. And I was like, fucking hell, who is this dude? Like, it was ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like it was raw. I don't know if you've seen the advert. Have you seen the advert?
No.
Okay, he's basically, if you can look it up on YouTube. But he was really young. He was about 8 years old or something, and he's just doing kick-ups, and he's just he's literally doing kick-ups with his left leg, yeah, and he's just bouncing on the same spot doing kick-ups, yeah, and he does a couple of other bits and pieces and whatever. I don't remember the advert exactly because I haven't seen it for 20 years, but I just remember this kid just up and down doing kick-ups. You've probably seen the footage, but that was from a Coca-Cola advert. It was black and white. Do you know what I mean? And it was ridiculous, like just next level. So, you know, it was these kind of things. When I'm looking at people like Maradona, and I was a young boy, I was like, look, if this guy can do this, I can do this, you know, and it was that kind of inspiration, you know. So you were looking at people like Maradona and thinking, okay, if he can accurately shoot a ball and it goes somewhere specific that he's chosen, then what's to stop me getting this ball 20 foot away from the wall with a circle and get it in the circle all the time? Like, you know, direct yourself and know where you're going. And this is stuff that I applied to when I was doing my music and stuff. Like always aiming for almost the impossible. You know, it's not always going to be impossible because like where Maradona, for example, played football, everything became the norm for him. So at some point it becomes the norm for me. Then when it becomes the norm, you think, okay, let me bring in the challenge again.
I mean, you stopped rapping and like you referred to your gray hair, but what was the point when you decided to like stop doing that and started doing something else? Because in the context of what you're saying about Maradona, did that feel like giving up, or did you feel like I need another phase in my life or whatever?
I just felt I reached the end of the road for what I was doing at the time because there was a lot of changes coming in, you know, like everyone was now on the internet. People were basically sending links to your album to their friends, so people weren't buying the music anymore. And, you know, and it became a time when everybody wanted everything. Basically, the whole world became a place full of deluded, entitled people. You know, they all feel like they're entitled. They deserve everything for nothing, you know. And not all of them, obviously, but you know what I mean. So it got to the point where I'm like, well, what's the point? I spend all my money, blood, sweat, tears, everything goes into the project. And then I put the album out and someone's gone and sold 30,000 copies with a download link. And I'm finding out from other people that someone's selling my album. Yeah, and it's just like, well, what's the point?
What are you doing nowadays to like, you know, as you're still working on music, right? Or
yeah, I've never left music, to be honest. When I walked away from doing the music as a career, I mean, let's get it straight as well. I didn't walk away because of money and stuff. I just walked away because I felt things were changing. You know, I mean, there was a lot of rappers online that were just showing their lyrics written People are going, wow, that's sick. But you haven't heard the guy's flows. You haven't heard him to music. How do you know the guy's sick? Mm-hmm. Do you get what? And I didn't understand all of that stuff. I was like, wow, I spent my whole life with, you know, like fire, coal, and practicing and becoming a monk and what I did, you know? And then all of a sudden, it's like, all you got to do is just write a few words in a forum and everyone's going, raw, them bars are sick, bruv. You know, and I didn't get it. But you know what, some of those guys who were doing those are now ridiculous MCs. You know what I mean? So, you know, it obviously worked for them. You know what I'm saying? For me, I walked away from the career as a musician because I stopped enjoying what I was doing. I was enjoying listening to other people doing good things. So for me, the enjoyment as an artist just kind of ended. So I thought, what can I do to carry on staying in music? So I started a CD manufacturing business. And that way I was able to help a lot of artists by keeping like, you know, massive like discounts in and whatever, and just basically helping artists continue to be artists because they could now afford to get the CDs done a lot cheaper than what was on offer before I came along. And now what I'm doing with the channel with 521 here, what I'm doing is basically getting musicians, artists, singers, whatever I can get to get in here and do performances. And then we'll also do sofa chats with them. So here's the sofa. We'll do sofa chats with them and stuff. So it's always been in music, always.
Mm-hmm. And what does 521 stand for?
God knows.
Oh, okay.
I'm joking. What it was is my son used to be in a group before, and he used to come back from the studio every morning, like in the early hours. And my house, I've got a couple of security cameras and lights and whatever that go off. And every time, because I was still working at the time. So like in 4 months, I noticed like almost every single day, like he arrived at 521. Like before we finish, I just want to say like, when I was growing up, obviously, like I said about parenting and all that, and I didn't really have parents, everyone in the boarding school was my family and all that. And I needed people to look up to get inspired by. And there was a few people that inspired me a lot. You had, obviously, like I've said, Maradona, there was Bruce Lee, there was Steve McQueen as an actor, there was Jimi Hendrix as a musician. So, you know, before the Public Enemies and all them came in. In the early years when I needed something to look up to, you know, these were the guys that I was looking up to. And obviously, like I said, Mike Tyson came later as well. But for me, the biggest inspiration was Maradona. Like what I saw that guy do on a football pitch, I just thought, raw, if I can do that with my music, I'm safe. You know, I probably learned more in one World Cup from watching Maradona than I learned from watching anybody else all their lives. So yeah, Maradona was a big piece of my life. You know what I mean? Mm. And I have to say, like the day he died, I was sat in this room, I actually froze, and you know, my cameraman was here with me and he was making jokes, and I had to just tell him like he needs to stop. I'm not in the mood. Like all of a sudden when I got the news, do you remember that day? He's here with me. Mm. He sat here with me, and I had to tell him just stop, man. It's not. I'm not in the mood. And yeah, it was a big moment. Like, I knew it was coming, and we all kind of prepared for it for 10 years. You know. Oh, one other story, and I have to say this one as well. I was on my way to Carhartt many years ago to go and get some clothing because they were sponsoring me, and it was Covent Garden. So I'm walking through Covent Garden, and this guy walks past me with an entourage, or I mean, just a few people walking with him, you know. And I looked at him and I thought, you know what? It looks like Maradona, but he was wearing dark glasses, and I could be your best friend, and you could sit next to me with dark glasses on, and I won't recognize you. That's how bad I am. So anyway, he's there with dark glasses on and a cap and everything, and he walked past me, and I thought to myself, I swear that's Maradona. But I didn't think anything. I just thought, it's probably not. You know what I mean? So I've gone to Carhartt, and I said to them, it was just round the corner, literally round the corner. So I said to them, yeah, I think I just saw Maradona, but I don't think it was him. And they went, no, bro, he's in the country. He's in London right now. He's in Covent Garden as it's on the radio. And I'm like, shit, I'll come back. And I went running after him to look for him. And I couldn't find him. So I thought, you know what, opportunity wasted. So anyway, then I find out that he's staying at the Dorchester Hotel, which is in Marble Arch. So I thought, fuck it, I'm going to go and sit at the hotel. So I had nothing doing, you know what I mean? I'm broke, I have no money, and, you know, this is just basically things are starting to take shape, but, you know, and I thought, what have I got to lose? And I went and asked the doorman. Yeah. They basically opened the doors because this is like an expensive hotel for the rich and the famous and all that. So I asked him if I could just stand there until Maradona comes out. Stood there waiting and waiting and waiting, and he never came out.
I want to thank my guest Blade for the fun conversation. Next week, I'm talking to another one of my heroes, producer Boom Bip, about his love for Andrew Weatherall. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in.